Good morning. Yes, we've got a radio here to fix. I saw my buddy Bob. He had some health issues, and that's why he hasn't been around. He hasn't been getting around too much these days. We got here on the bench radio that Bob gave me this morning to repair. It's an RCA 2-XF-91 or chassis RC 1121. And he got the Sam's Photofax copy. Looks like it was made in 1953, the radio that is, from eBay, because Bob always tries to get the schematic and makes it very helpful for me when I'm repairing these things. Bob has the knobs right here, and he tied up the line cord. He just pulled the knobs off and just gave it a look over. It's strictly it's AM and FM, I'm sorry. This is the FM band, and this is the AM over here. As you can see, the cord has been cut off. Bob cut the cord off because it's, if you look closely, you can see where it's down the bare wire. And this is the rest of the cord, and we're probably going to just replace the cord with a polarized cord. And it is a tube set. Knobs here and the cord here. So it's got the typical old style plug. So we're going to eliminate this wire, and as you can see here, this is the FM antenna, which is running to the cord, and that's how you had your FM antenna with the FM radios. I'm not sure what this is. We'll find all this out when we open it up. So that will be our radio project that will be coming up very soon here. Okay, let's get started on this. Let's just give it a good check out here. We got the original cover screws in the back. Bob gets most of his stuff, I think he got this on eBay, but I'm not positive. I know he got the copy of the Sam's Photofax, which I showed you in the beginning of this video, off of eBay, but he either got this off of eBay or out of a flea market. I think he said something about a flea market or a tractor, some kind of a tractor show or something, and it had other things there. I'm not positive. I was sitting with Bob this morning in Old MacDonald's farm. Good seeing him. It's been a long time, and he hasn't been too active because he's had a lot of problems with his leg because he had some surgery done on his hips, and it's bothering his leg now. So okay, so now let's see. That wire is part of the antenna circuit. And it goes on to one of these screws over here, and this one here goes to, I think you could see that, the loop stick, the trimmer cap for the tuning of the loop stick. Let's see here. Alright, let's see here. Let's get this. Let's get these screws in my magnetic Harbor Freight tray over here so we don't lose them. This cord will be replaced. we're going to open it up here to, well, we're going to cut off the plug. Get my cutters out of my drawer here. I got so much stuff in here. We'll cut the plug off. And nothing wrong with this plug, except it's not polarized. I never throw these out unless they're completely junk. The rubber's kind of hard but not brittle. But we're going to, whenever I do anything like this, I always return the old parts back to, you know, in this case I give them back to Bob. But this will be replaced with a polarized cord. Now, I want to check out, it looks like they got 3 wires. 2 wires are for the plug that I just cut off, and the 3rd wire is running parallel to it for the FM antenna. So it's a 3-wire thing. I've never seen one quite like this. But the longest one here is the FM antenna. Now, even though FM isn't subjectable to a lot of noise like AM band is, I don't much care for FM antennas that are connected to the line cord. But what we're going to do here, see, they got, what you got here is, I don't know if you can see that, I'm sorry, I'm doing the best I can here. This has just got a knot in it. This wire has a spade connector which would slide up on one of these terminals here for the FM. So normally you'd connect your FM dipole over here, okay? But this wire here was poked through, as you saw in the beginning of the video, through here. Whether it goes on the other side of the cap, I don't know. I'll have to check it out on the schematic. So this wire here basically is just parallel to this. So we're going to pull that out. And this is your cheetah cord. It's all plastic molded in, so you can't do anything with that. Alright. So we just tossed that. What we got to do is drill out eventually. Drill out this. Now, that may be a problem. And getting the cord. Years ago, you could get cheetah cords polarized and non-polarized. Now, if I can find a polarized, these are called cheetah cords. They used them years ago in radios and televisions. Okay? And what they are is a safety. So when you pull off the back, it pulls the power off the radio. And unless you had what they call a cheetah cord, which would plug into here so you can power your radio up and run it on an isolation transformer, which I have over here. So if I can't find a polarized cheetah cord, years ago I used to have all these things. You used to be able to go to your electronic supply house and buy them. You know, they were readily available in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and even 80s. But no more. So eBay is the place to go for that. So if I can't, we'll drill out these rivets. There's 2 rivets here, and put in a polarized cord. But that we're crossing the bridge before we get to it, so to speak. So we will cut that off because we're not using this cord. We'll put that off to the side here. Let's see what we got in here. If I can tip this up with something. Have anything to put under it. Let me get you in here. There's your cheetah cord. There's what's left of your antenna. I think this wire went on the other side of the trimmer cap, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll check that out. Although it was stuck through the board here and it was apparently connected here, but I don't think so. I think that's FM, that's your phono input. There's your coupling capacitor for your phono input, which we will change. This is AM and FM. Here's your power cord. Looks like friction tape here with a little clamp that holds it down to the chassis. Oh, it has dial cord. Ooh, you know me and dial cords. I don't do them. I can't do them. Hello, Ron C. in Florida. He loves doing dial cords. But let's not cross that bridge until we get to it. Let's put this down here so you can get a better look at it. All right. These are the knobs. And we'll get that off. Bob polished the cabinet. It came out pretty good. Of course, we got dust on here. It's been sitting a while before Bob was able to get a hold of me. So I'm going to try the tuning, see if the dial move here. That's one of my biggest things. I can restore the radio unless there's an IF can problem, silver mica disease, in which case I cannot deal with repairing IF cans. But if it's most anything else I can do, that and dial cords I cannot do. So let me get these knobs out so I can try to put one of them wherever the tuning is. I would imagine the tuning for this is over here and the tuning for the AM is over here. So let me get back to you as soon as I get these knobs free here. Looks like I'm in luck. There's your dial. That should go to 160. That's all the way over to 108. There's 108 here. And there's 140 here on the AM, or 1400 actually, as the AM indicator there. And the FM indicator there. Try not to get you dizzy here. So that's that, but that's one thing at a time. It might be a simple thing of just pulling these dials off here and just relocating them. Let's just see what that does here on this end. All right. Not sure. Gotta look at the SAMs, because that's the SAM's photo fact on it, not just the schematic. It might tell me about that. I've never seen a radio like this, but I haven't worked on a lot of radios anyways, you know, throughout my years. Not like a lot of guys, but I did work on quite a few in all my years. But I think if you add them all up, I think most guys that do this stuff, they do more in 1 week than I do in 40 years of, actually 50 years of, or more, of working with these things. So, right now, this video is just about checking it out, see what it needs. Oh, okay, I can move that by hand. Let's see if I can do that with that. Yeah, I can just turn it. All right. All right, now they're both down at the bottom. So let's just see where they go here. I can live with that. All right. Yeah, I can live with that. All right. Pull the knob off here. Knobs are in real nice shape. Yeah, this is coupling cap for the phono import. A lot of these radios had a phono import, but it's not a good idea because they're hot chassis. Although normally the chassis are separated from the one side of the line by a death cap, as most of the guys say, and then coupled to that, and sometimes with a high value resistor, so it's still very dangerous. And I don't recommend having a phono on these type of radios. On a transformer set, it's completely different. I would use an AM radio transmitter or an FM radio transmitter, because this has FM in it also. So we're going to have to make a note of everything here in case wires break off. What I'm going to do now is to see if I can pull this chassis. Yeah, I can see dial cords on both of these pulleys. And it looks like the speaker is soldered in, but I'm not 100% sure. It looks to me like they're soldered, but they could be push-on terminals, but I doubt it. Okay, I got the two screws out. One was here, quarter inch nut driver required to get the screw out of here and here. Alright, we got the tube location chart here. Model 2-XF-91. Okay. I think these pull off. They got to pull off. That's what's holding my chassis in now. When I turned this over, I made sure I held the chassis so it don't all of a sudden pull out from here and slam down on the bench. So we'll get this out of the cabinet and we'll be right back. That was easy. Is the AM knob. Feel pretty heavy. They got to be metal. And there's the FM knob. All right. So let's get this thing out. Let's see what we got here. Wait a minute now. Let's see what we got with the speakers. Yeah. I think the wires are soldered on the speaker. It looks like little push pins, but it looks like they've been soldered. Can't get my magnifying glass in there. Yeah, what they did is there's little clips that little like sockets, connectors or whatever on it, and there's push pins that go in, and then it looks like they bridged over some solder on it to get it out. So in order for me to get in there, I gotta pull the tube shields. You know, a lot of times you don't find the tube shields on the radios. I see that on YouTube a lot too, on different videos when somebody's working on an old radio or an old piece of equipment. Most of the time the tube shields are missing, and you can tell it's got the base designed to push on tube shields. So we're going to remove it because we don't want to break the tubes. I'm clumsy and I got to get in there and I can't see good. To get in there with a soldering iron and remove those terminals if I can. Old trick to bring the writing up on a tube. It's hard to see. 6BJ6. Of course, I can look on the tube chart underneath. All right, so we're going to take a 6BJ6, put it into there, and we'll remove the man, that's hard to get out. Let's see what this one is. This feels like a 9-pin. That's what it is. You can tell by the... After a while, you work on tube stuff, just by touching the tube, you know, well, that's a 7-pin tube. This is a 9-pin. You can feel... I have to do a lot of my feeling because of my damn eyesight. Thank goodness I still got feelings. Let's see what this tube is. Oh, a 19X8. That's nice. I don't have one. And my tube stash is very, very limited, but I don't do that much on radio anyways, or repairs and stuff. Basically, when Bob gives me something to work on, it gives me something to do, you know? Alright, now, let me see if I can see. Let me see if I can see. We got a bright light here. And we got a magnifying glass, and we got my ugly face. We can get my ugly head in there. Oh yeah, they got a nice blob of solder right across it. And the dial cord is about an 1/8 inch away from the bottom terminal. That's nice. I'm liable to burn that off. Never could do dial cords. Never. When I started out in the late 50s, although I was horsing around with reading up on electronics a couple years before that, but when I really started getting into playing around with radios, and basically in 58 and 59, that's what I was really doing. I was learning. Oh, they got a bumblebee cap way over here. You can't see it, but you'll see that. Oh, I see a selenium rectifier in there. So we've got one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tubes in here, and a selenium rectifier. How about that? All right. So in order to get this chassis out, I got to get them terminals off of there. And I hope I don't burn that dial cord. Well, let's get my soldering iron out. Get these knobs moved over here. This is basically, I'm pulling it out today. I'm not going to be doing too much today on it. I might. But this is really just to check it out. I like working on tube sets. Really, they're so much easier, so much simpler than transistor. And you got more room to see things. Yes, some chassis can get quite crowded underneath, especially in AM and FM. Now, if there's any problem with any of these with silver mica disease, I'm dead in the water. Okay? I will not be able to fix it. If there's an open coil, I'm dead in the water. If the dial cord breaks, and I'll be very careful, but if it does, I'm dead in the water. Well, anyways, this is going to be, let's get this other light on here. Let's see, let's get this guy going here. Ooh, doo doo. Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. In little dream, come out and now we go. Where the hell's the plug here? There it is. This is a LED light. It's got such a noisy power supply, it wipes out the entire AM band. I bought this at a flea market years ago. Several years ago. And get it untangled from my mess here and get it plugged in up here. Get the outlet strip on. Get the... Here's the switch down here. So I can see. I see, says the blind man to the deaf mute. Alright. Let me check and see if we're still recording. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we're still recording. Line voltage is 119. Only 2 air conditioners running in the house. Things are not too bad. Ooh, I didn't turn my soldering iron on. And I've been waiting all this while. Isn't that something? That's nothing new. I got a flash, you don't know if you can see that. Made a video on that. It got that flashing LED there, that's so I don't forget to turn it off. And then I got my bench outlet strip when I turn it off, and then connected to that is my line voltage meter. So I've got all these reminders in case. Let's get some solder here. Or solder, as they pronounce it in Canada. Or color. The color is brown, but some of them say color. That bugs me. When I see that, I pronounce it color. I know, you don't pronounce the U. Oh, not quite ready. Well, you did a sniff test. You can feel the heat coming up. Just don't burn your nose. You'll have a wart on the end of your nose like old Hilda. Old Broomhilda. You've seen Hilda and Hillary? Yeah, let's get a needle nose here. Needle nose, where are you? I'm on the end of a piece of thread. There's my needle nose. I had these for more years than I can count. We're going to be a contortionist here. Well, let's tin the iron. Let's see if I can do it without breaking the speaker, the dial cord. Do-do-do-do-do. Da-da-da-da-da. I used to do all my stuff years ago with a soldering gun. Pull the trigger, 140 watt Weller, I got one. Needs to be quicker. This does alright, but you have to hold it on there a long time. I'm gonna hit that wire. I'm gonna hit that damn cord. I know I am. Keep slipping off the terminal trying to solder it. I might have to get my soldering gun on this. This station does a good job, but it's heating up. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna end up cutting the plug off of the wire and just solder it on there. Oh, there it is. It came off anyways. The plug is still in there, and there's the bare wire. So, alright, we're not going to worry about it. We'll just solder it back on without the other thing. That's because I'm pulling on the wire, because if I pull on the plug that's soldered in there, I'll heat sink it out and I'll never get it out. There we go. Okay. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, we tin the iron. I always use these, this brass thing here. I've been told, there's some videos on soldering, you never use a water sponge. The wet sponge, it's not good. Tin the iron. After it's turned off, put it back in. Ready to go the next time. Alright, now, let's pull it out, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. It looks like about a 5-inch speaker to me. That's pretty darn good. We'll put that away. I'll turn this thing off here. Hang that back up. And put that back up there. Out of the way. We don't need it yet. Let's get this cabinet in my crowded shop. Oh man. Oh, I don't like seeing that. That's I don't mess around with the tuning circuits. Like when I was working with TVs back in throughout the years of 1970s mostly, I did TVs for quite a number of years, back in the 60s. But when I worked for Akins Electronics as a counterman, as I told you so many times, we used to, the TV men would send out their television tuners to a place, well, we would send it out for them. They'd bring in the tuner, and it would be rebuilt by a place called Castle Tuner Service. C-A-S-T-L-E. That's what they did years ago, and that was, of course, the good old vacuum tube days. I think they did solid state too. So if you had a television that had a messed up tuner, and I don't mean, well, they did the drum type too. I used to remember the big drum types, you can remove the strips out of them. I worked on those too. I cleaned them. I used to clean the little buttons and the contacts in them. Done that many years. But when it comes to the actual tuner of the television, the TV men would come in, you know, because I used to know almost all of them that came in there. And every once in a while, they get a guy that comes in, he wants to send a tuner out. So they send it out, take a week or, I don't know, 2 weeks, whatever to get back. And it would be totally rebuilt, and the TV man would install it in the customer set and be on his way. So, under these conditions here, they've got 1/4-inch nuts here holding the shield on. I will inspect that. Here's your dial cord there, Ron C. of Florida. Hello, Ron. You like this stuff, huh? You know what he'd be saying right now? Ron would be saying, that's a piece of cake. I love doing it. I'd be in paradise doing that. That's a nightmare. It may look simple. You got so many turns to go around a certain wheel. You got to adjust it in the springs here. No! Not me. Here's your... Let's get you over here. Hang on. Here's your selenium rectifier, which are going to be changed. The bumblebee is going out of there. Not a bad set. Chassis needs a little cleaning up. This terminal right here probably needs to be straightened out. There's your speaker wires. And it's very gently. We don't want to snap the dial cord. There's your wax capacitors. Now what I do with these, I establish the value. I cut close to the body. Put a hook in each one of these ends. Take the replacement, put a hook in that. I cut the leads down and so it fits in there. Hook and pinch, or J-hook, some people call it. I've tried the coil method. I'm so clumsy with that, it just don't work. If I can get onto a terminal, like this one goes, not sure, this is, alright, this is the on and off volume. If I can get to that terminal, I'll go right to the terminal. So, like this one here, if there's only one on the tube socket, I'll do it. Ceramic discs, usually you don't have to bother with those. The first thing we do is put the tubes back in. Find a cheater cord, I'll have to use a jumper wire. Power to the isolation transformer over there. And the dim bulb. Here is a better look at the coupling, the wax cap that goes to the phono input. This is your FM antenna. Here's your, this is probably a very low value, several Mickey mics or microfarads. We used to call them Mickey mice, MM. This is probably 5 or 10 picofarads. Picofarads and Mickey mice are the same thing. It was unheard of, nanofarads. I don't deal with that. I'm from the old school. We didn't have that back then, and this radio goes back to the old school. So that's the terms we're using. Although, if I get something that's in nanofarads, I use my cheat sheet, which is hanging up on the wall of my shop. We'll clean the switches. We'll do all that off camera. This is just a rundown of what I got to do. Now before we end this video, is the bottom of the main filter cap. It looks to me like the best I could read it is 50-50. We'll pull out the schematic and take a look at it. So, for cosmetic reasons, unless these can be restuffed, and I don't restuff, this is cut off. The terminals are cut off on the bottom. Terminal strips are added. They'll either cut off or they're left on, wires taken off. Solder on the lug for a terminal strip, where it normally would bolt onto the chassis, and add electrolytics underneath, leaving this here. You don't want to have an ugly hole here. Selenium rectifier goes with a resistor in series with a silicon diode, and I could probably mount that. Oh yeah, got plenty of room under there, up in here. Not a problem. When we do the cord, as you well know, if you don't, you better study up on it. Always switch the hot side of the line, never the neutral. In other words, the white prong on your polarized plug is the neutral side or the grounded side of your line. So that will have to be changed, because I'm sure that's, a lot of these radios switch the, in other words, your switch, and I can't read that now, usually goes right to the chassis. That's wrong. You want the ground, the hot wire for your line. This is not polarized, by the way. This is A polarized cheetah cord would have one large pin and one smaller one. This is non-polarized, so you can get a hot chassis depending on which way you put that in. So we're going to put a polarized cheetah cord on here if we can get it. And when we wire this up, this black and white wire, it's not really white, but it's a light brown, but we'll call it black and white, will be replaced I wonder if that's the death cap. Why is that going across the selenium? Gotta look at the schematic there, you old fart! Well, there's your capacitor going across the selenium. There's your death cap to the left of it. And you can see where one side of the line is switched on the ground. I don't know why they do that, but that is very, very dangerous. Because, let me get my Q-tip, and no, I did not have it in my ear, as I use. I turn this end over. Depending on which way this plug is. Now, let's say now the plug was in the wall. I hope you can see this. I'm using the Kodak Z1. I'm not using the big Sony because I'd be having to do editing all day long, because the file size is so big. So if this plug was in correctly in the wall and this became neutral and the radio was turned on, not a problem, okay? But when you turn this off, you're still plugged into the wall, you removed the neutral, which is connected to the chassis, with no more because the switch is open now, turned off. So your hot side is still plugged into the line. So what you've got is you don't have any conduction here because there's no return circuit, all right? But you've got all this filament string here, and then it returns to ground over here. So in effect, you still got 115 volts coming out of the outlet at reduced current because of the tube string, but enough to kill you or really give you a nasty, nasty shock. So, to solve that problem, because this is a very bad design, dangerous, to solve that problem, you put a polarized cheetah cord on here, or a polarized cord, depending on what I can get. Make sure that the wide prong, which is the neutral side, is never, never switched. Okay? That maintains the chassis at neutral or ground position potential at all times. Now, let's find out if the chassis is, if this is the chassis symbol. All right, let's look in here. It looks to me like, no, there's only one symbol here. A lot of times they'll say denotes B minus, in which case you got a line and arrow lines like that. In other words, I don't want to draw on a schematic. You got to look carefully on your schematic or check out the radio and find out. One of these symbols is chassis, and I think that's the chassis, but I'm not sure. I get the two mixed up. But if you see two symbols, it usually is a little notation down here, denotes chassis ground, denotes common negative, okay? So we're looking at the filter cap here, which is 50 microfarads. That's one section of that can electrolytic I showed you. You see that there's only one symbol. It's showing the symbol on the left. Nowhere on this schematic so far have I seen the symbol on the right. So in other words, your line in this schematic on this radio, your power line is directly connected to the chassis. So if you got that plug-in wrong and you're at a kitchen sink or something listening to this radio and reach over, and if for some reason one of the knobs is missing or something, or you happen to touch the chassis, well, kid, you're in trouble. So I can't emphasize this so much. I got to a point where, regardless of whether it looks normal or not, I put a modern polarized cord and plug on the radio. Now, if I can find a cheetah cord with a polarized plug and a polarized end to go into here, I will do that. But we got a ways to go. We're going to replace the electrolytics. I'll get my ear cube out here, my ear stick. Sorry, but it isn't. So, all these caps, here's your other 50 microfarad here coming off the audio output transformer here, which is a 35C5. You've got a 12AV6. All right, here's your filament string here. 12AV6, 12AL5, which is a dual diode, 12AU6, 12AU6 with, let's see, that's V4, V5. Choke, usually a filament choke, a very small choke usually. 12AU6 again, a 4,700 Mickey Mice, microfarad, we call them Mickey Mice. Mickey Mite. That's what the guys used to call them back in my day. Another choke, 19T8. Another choke. These are filament chokes, and they're used quite a bit. As a matter of fact, the Motorola VT71 television that I had used a lot of them in the filament string. They also use low-value resistors. 6BJ6, and of course the 35Z5, which I mentioned already. Using pins 3 and 4 is the filament. Okay. This video is more of a, well, a little bit of instructional. What little knowledge I know. I don't know a lot. I'm just passing on what little I do know from throughout the years. And I try to be honest. Okay, so nothing's going to be done on this video here. Like a lot of the YouTube channels that I watch, things are going to be done off camera, and then I'll show you afterwards. I'll replace this. I don't know why there's a capacitor across the selenium rectifier like it shows here. Whether I need to put that across the silicon diode that I'm going to replace this with, I don't know. There's a reason. I mean, the radio designers designed it. Why they would do it, I don't know. It's a bumblebee cap. And I have to get my cheat sheet out, so I have trouble reading these. It's supposedly the same as a resistor color code. It looks like yellow, violet, orange, and then a yellow band at the end. There's a glauber solder at the end. That usually denotes the outside foil. But in the modern caps, I mean, people are going to disagree with me. They're so small, there's no outside foil, basically, because the size of the capacitor is so much smaller. It's my opinion now, and opinions are like bungholes. Everyone's got one. I don't worry about it. I just put them in. Here is, for instance, a 0.002 microfarad. Okay? There's no markings on that. I know there's videos about outside foil detection on these. The surface area on this is so small. Look at the size of that. Now, I don't know what the capacity of that is. I have to get my cheat sheet out because I don't know. I have to look it up. All right, but what I'll do is look at the schematic. Let's see what the schematic says. 047. Here is an 047, but this is 630 volts. Okay? Look at how much smaller it is. No markings on it for outside foil. Don't make a damn bit of difference. I don't care what anybody says. That's my opinion. I just put them in. I don't worry about the outside foil. I have done the scope test, like Mr. Carlson's lab showed. I couldn't get any difference on this. Made no difference which way I put the hot side of the probe on. Didn't show a thing. They were exactly the same in both ways. So, there's so little physical area on this cap that the outside foil, I mean, of course it's got an outside foil, but it's neglectable. This is 3 times larger than this. All right? So, whether I'm going to replace this with another capacitor or eliminate it when I put the diode in, that I don't know, because I don't know what the reason is for having a capacitor of 0.047 across the selenium rectifier. That I don't know. I'll be honest. If I don't know something, I'll be honest and tell you. Just like dial cords. Dial cords and taking IF cans apart. I've seen people do it. They gotta have eyes like a jeweler. Yes, you do work on the magnification, but I can't work with that. I cannot do that. All right, folks, this is going to be the next project. And Bob's been following my videos. So that's good. We'll get it going for you, Bob. At least wise, I'll give it my best. So stay tuned for part 1. This is not part 1. This is just show and tell. Part 1 of the GE radio. Coming to a computer near you real soon.